third speaker, also and third conference organizer, Dr. Hsieh,
It wasn't the first.
and
slide.
her title is "Tomorrow Cannot Be Waited: Intermedial Bodies in a Sinofuturistic World."
Discipline. Okay. So, okay. Hi. So Mark previously talked about how the world, the world, sort of concludes that China is ready or in the process of welcoming a global future. So, and then Mark said that he didn't have time to cover what that is, and now it's my turn to cover the global future. And so we're moving a timeline from how the ancient scripts of Lawrence's presentation to what is the future, what is Sinofuturism. So today my paper is called "Tomorrow Cannot Be Waited: Intermedial Bodies in the Sinofuturistic World." You can see a lot of big school words here, so I'm trying to combine these different ideas and working to the theme of the conference. Tomorrow Cannot Be Waited is a live performance that started sort of 2015 time. They're still kind of ongoing. They have different themes now, but it's like a very similar sort of live digital performance that happens in China. Just a bit of warning that I will play a few clips because that these will be the recordings of live performances. So there will be flashes because it's like a very dark room and then use lasers and stuff. Not laser, but because it's digital, so it's gonna be a little bit flashy. Just flash warning ahead. When I play a clip, I will tell you about that. Okay, so what is Sinofuturism? So Sinofuturism actually has some kind of prototype a long time ago, but I'm gonna focus on something that is more recent. So this is a term, or at least for this paper, for the sake of this paper, Sinofuturism refers to a concept that had emerged in the mid-2010s as a way to counter and reclaim Orientalist aesthetic narratives placed upon China and wider Sinosphere, and its relation and applicability to contemporary visual arts. Today's talk aims to demonstrate Sinofuturism as a way to understand increasingly technologized, globalized new forms of expression and practice in Chinese art. Sinofuturism is a term sort of popularized and coined by Lawrence Lek in 2016. His video essay called Sinofuturism. It describes, quote, a science fiction that already exists in the present time as a critique to present-day China and its diaspora. Lek is an artist and a filmmaker who is actually based in London, and he is still ongoing, doing a lot of exhibitions beyond the realm of Sinofuturism. And also Sinofuturism does not constitute an actual movement. It's not that people just starting to do things, and it's more of a depiction of the sinospheric social reaction to its technological development. It is a collectively imagined future that is based on the space of the present day. Scholars have been attempting to define Sinofuturism by making a distinction from other science fiction traditions such as cyberpunk, which often engages in techno-orientalism when producing its near-future dystopia. However, Sinofuturism follows a different genealogy in the cyberpunk. It can be considered a reclamation to the techno East, and as Lek pointed out, embraces different kinds of cliches and stereotypes generated from science fiction and Orientalism, such as a highly developed and yet dystopian metropolis, and turns them into something positive that celebrates prosperity and modernity. This is a quote from Lawrence Lek's video essay, because the essay is almost an hour long, so I'm not going to play that. So I'm just kind of extract some of the quotes from the essay itself. Lawrence Lek, he kind of stated that this is not really claiming something new, but more of a retroactive manifesto for Sinofuturism. And he said, in Western media and Orientalist perceptions, China is exotic, strange, bizarre, kitsch, tacky, or cheap. in its domestic media, China portrayed as heroic, stable, historic, grand, and unified. Rather than counteract these skewed narratives, Sinofuturism proposes to push them much further by embracing 7 key stereotypes of Chinese society. These are the stereotypes of computing, copying, gaming, studying. You know, they study very hard. We work very hard over there. Addiction, labor, gambling. It's very competitive. So that's the stereotype. And it shows China's technological development can be seen as a form of artificial intelligence. This basically means that this kind of the unified and also stereotypes of Chinese society forms a simulation. The brains are connected together, which it can be demonstrated through, I think Mark mentioned the 2008 Beijing Olympic, where the opening ceremony you see like huge numbers of dancers, and they just coordinate. They always dance at the same time, almost as if they are not real. They are as if they are AI. They can just perform in a very unified way. So Sinofuturism is kind of embracing purposely these kind of stereotypes. And so this paper, I tried to kind of engage different sort of theoretical field to understand Sinofuturism, but specifically in its visual presentation and visual arts. So according to Hsin and Molani's comments and on ethnofuturism, they describe this kind of retroactive manifesto in a sense is not about repeating the past or even amending its history, but putting pressure on the present by unleashing the weight of its future. So it's very superimposed. They're putting future on top of the present, as much as this future can be found in the virtual extremes of the here and now. So I'm going to give another example before I actually show you Tomorrow Cannot Be Waited. This is an art project called Too Rich City, or Tu Li Chen in Chinese. It's done by a visual artist, Huang Hsin, yes. And so you can see this almost cyberpunk aesthetic, but it's different from cyberpunk, as I said earlier. Stereotypically, cyberpunk feel is a little bit more sort of dystopian, but here it's more like a celebration of these excess development, and you can see all these kind of a collage of the cityscape. And he made a lot of images, and he basically posting online. He also does AR, augmented reality exhibition. So you go there and with your phone, and you can see things jumping out. I think currently in May he is showing some of his work in Beijing at the moment. But this is more than, this Too Rich City is more than just a visual project. It's actually more than that. So this is the virtual extremes. So Huang Hsin is the artist, visual artist, who creates a series of virtual buildings based on real Chinese cities in the aesthetic of plastic punk. Staggered buildings, commercials, brands, banners to illustrate the material and consumerism culture. So as I said, this is actually beyond just cool images or videos. This is part of a metaverse project called Too Rich City. Users can pay in yuan, Chinese currency, via Taobao, their online shopping platform, to obtain and invest virtual property in this Too Rich City. So they can actually pay real money to have a place to have a real estate in the virtual world. So basically you pay him, and then you say, I want to have a building there in Too Rich City, can you design this for me? So it can be like for your personal use, or it can also for commercial use. And then you commission him to make a building, he'll make a building with you, and you will have a place in Too Rich City. His works are also available, like I said, in an interactive AR setting, exhibition, or through mobile phone. And like I said earlier, a lot of these imageries or videos are based on real life Chinese cities. So this is a short clip that just kind of demonstrating him. This is the elephant slides, and he's just kind of like finding real life things, a real Chinese city, and putting in the virtual tourist city. Yeah. Yeah. So that's. So Sinofuturism is a futuristic virtual reality that is superimposed on present-day reality. It overemphasizes and critiques the blurred boundary between the reality and the virtual world. Sinofuturism media then operates at the intersection between art and technology, appearing in cinema, computer animation, video gaming, multimedia installation, live performance, virtual reality VR, and augmented reality AR, and the social media meme culture. Of course, today I won't have time to cover all this, but I'm going to focus on live performance and also kind of like shift my attention from spatial to bodily engagement, and looking Sinofuturism through a more intermedial approach, because a lot of sort of Sinofuturistic world or Sinofuturistic art styles sort of focus on the urban space, the city, how the city is going to be futuristic, but I'm going to focus on the body aspect of this. So Tomorrow Cannot Be Waited 2018 is a live performance by Howie. He is a Chinese musician and from Taipei. Teom is from Taipei, Teom Chen. He is a visual artist that questions the corporeal existence in the virtual world. Chen uses a gaming engine to make a video live on stage. So he has some kind of prompts, but he makes video live on stage. So you are looking at the creation of a video while he's actually there. And so when Chen is making these videos, Li, the musician, performs music responding to the visuals Chen creates. The premise of the video features recordings of a human character interacting with their virtual counterpart, their doppelganger, their avatars, to create, which created and controlled by Chen live on stage. So I think the next slide is a 2 minutes clip from Tomorrow Cannot Be Waited performance. It's going to be flashes. It's not a direct sort of recording of the performance. I think they said it's 3 performances and then they kind of cut it into like a continuity. So it's kind of to showcase, to demonstrate what it feels like if you go there to see it yourself. So I think this is only 2 minutes. I hope so it goes on a little bit more, but I think the points I want to make sort of has already been there in the clip, so I'm gonna skip. The next clip I'm gonna show, which is the same clip. No, this is actually one of the live performances. I'm gonna just kind of showcase a little bit, so you are not actually just watching the edited version. So this is not unedited, but it's kind of like showing the performance themselves, and so you can have a better idea of how it's conducted. Lastly, just want to, before I kind of do some analysis, I wanted to showcase very, very quickly, this duo is still doing performance, but of course they went on other more interesting projects. So the latest I think I can find is in 2021 live in Beijing called it's called bo 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 or bo 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 in Chinese, which means waves. So it focuses on the body generates energy as the energy waves, and that kind of transforms and transcends into virtual world. I'm going to show you a little bit of this. So the virtual me. So I'm gonna look at two things. One is the intermediality performance and a live performance, and also I was trying really hard to analyze this kind of performance because at least for now I can't really find anything like this. Like that he used a real world engine, the game simulator to create a live performance, a live video, and live editing, which I've never seen this before. The closest sort of performance I can find is actually motion capture or performance capturing. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. Oh God, I'm gonna give you here. So quickly. Yeah, so recently, because I really want to understand what's going on here, so I found an article called Avatars, Apes, and the Test of Performance by Ralph Remshad. So it's a intermediality and performance book, and it's one of the chapters that actually talk about motion capture and how the real life actors' performance being captured and then digitally transformed on screen. So you have, Gollum and the Planet of the Apes of the Kingdom of the Apes series. So you have human actors, and then they do motion capture, performance capture, and then you have the digital version of themselves. So there has been debates whether people been arguing that when it comes to assessing the acting and the performance, are we actually seeing the labor of the actor behind those masks, or we're just seeing Gollum and apes on screen? And so which sort of performance are we assessing? Can we see, because when it is on screen you don't really see the labor behind it. And some people argue that, but without the actor's performance you can't really have such a good digital version of the performance. So this is the current debate we have, but I'm not going to drill that too much, but it's just sort of laying the ground for that. For example, Philip Alexander kind of argued that you can't, sort of like everything is too digitized when you do motion capture. For example, he asked, at what point is something too digitized? If something is partially digitized, what of its ontology, its presence? Can someone or something perform in the traditional sense in the digital? And Alexander also rejects the idea that it is possible to perform in digital, at least for now. The motion capture figures we see on screen, he concludes, do not appear as performances by individual actors, but rather techno-dramatic phenomena brought forth through a complex process of production. So this is just one side of the argument. But however, if we, of course, that is within the context of motion capture, in the context of the filmmaking. We're talking about live performance here. So if we then consider the elements of liveness, what we understand liveness, then we can have sort of a different understanding of this transformation from the bodily to the digital. So liveness, according to Corporeal Power, which is quite like this explanation, is a process of world making, showing you the world making, right? As the imaginary world of the fiction seem to overlap with the reality of the stage and its object. This theatrical presence is a complicated nowness, as the fictional now often coexists in the tension with the stage now. So therefore, liveness it can be considered as a way to engage with virtual reality, which enables the conversion of the body as a medium, as well as an intermediate bridge between the performance reality, the reality on stage, and the virtual reality on the screen. So in the case of Tomorrow Cannot Be Waited, you had Teom Chen created a digital self who is the golden hand. So you see that in the digital world. You also see that in the live performance. He is actually standing in front of the screen between the projector and the screen. And as the audience can see his hand doing the controlling. And then in the end, you have him then transform into the golden hand, kind of like manipulating the digital world, taking control of the digital world. So virtual performance, we can understand, in this case, it kind of closes the gap between the actor and the character, the character environment, by subsuming the authority of performance and making it infinitely comfortable, accessible, malleable, and inseparable from the apparatus. So in conclusion, back to Sinofuturism. So these are sort of key concepts I want to wrap up in the end. So in an intermediate body created through digital and live performance, this is the concept that I talked about earlier, a body that embraces the visual extremes, technology developments, and the science fiction cliches. So it kind of focuses on different kind of superimposed elements. You have the reality, the virtual reality, and more importantly, because science fiction is happening right now, the here and now, the overlapping of the future and the past is kind of important concept here. So also, which is also indicated in the title, Tomorrow Cannot Be Waited, because tomorrow is now. It closes, the performance closes the gap between the corporeal and the virtual, the present and the future, because tomorrow cannot be waited, through superimposing the corporeal into the virtual, and then superimposing present and the future through live performance. And so that's it. I'm not sure what about time.
Yeah.